Warning: this show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewers' discretion is advised. This show may contain strong language and sensitive or controversial topics. We are not attorneys and are not providing legal advice. The views and conversations are our own thoughts and feelings, and therefore, purely speculation.
The entertainment world and beyond.
Skywalker, air miles, feeding on a surface, gliding on water, constricted and conflicted.
Welcome to Purely Speculation, a show that exposes the harmful effects of the criminal legal system. I'm your host, Heather Lewis, the Executive Director of the Reuniting Family Bail Fund and practitioner of participatory defense. On this show, you learn about the unspoken horrors of the criminal justice system and meet fierce allies and advocates. We will make the best of our traumatic experiences. We will get angry. We may even cry. We most certainly going to laugh, but one thing's for sure, we're going to keep it real. Welcome to Purely Speculation.
When they free my sins and let them loose, they was killing me, I got scars to prove, got me paralyzed, I could even barely move. Out the way I took the pain again.
Hey. Welcome to episode 9. We're getting it. And so tonight, we're going to have fun tonight because we winging it. So we're just going to keep it real. Like we said, we winging it. We do have some things that we have to talk about. But of course, we have our diehard, hardcore court watch guru extraordinaire, Scotty, with us tonight. Taria couldn't make it. She had an emergency. So we're going to wing her part. And, you know what I mean? We're going to make it do what it do as always. So how you feeling tonight, Mr. Scott?
Hey, fantastic. Everything is everything.
Right. So we have an update. And so I guess it was the last Court Watch edition that we talked about the gentleman who got a probation hit. And true transparency and authenticity and like, you know, we make mistakes and sometimes we get information, we don't have the entire story, and as time goes on and people start to share, we get the full picture. So do you want to clarify or give us an update on the young man that we brought to the show on the last Court Watch edition, where he got a 9-month hit for what we thought was a technicality? But tell us more. Once you got the full story, tell us what you got and where that leaves us and him now.
Yeah, after I did a little investigating to find out exactly what was going on to the core, because we kept getting all these little tidbits around the surface. So finally, I went to a source that had all the pertinent information. And it comes to find out that the reason why my guy received the hit that he did is because he knew that they were coming to get him, and he left where he told them that he would be. And they seen him driving and they had to pursue him. And so they got him for fleeing the scene. And I'm saying, well, fleeing the scene, that's not a crime. He was no crime at the scene that you're saying he was fleeing from. He was home. He left home. But come to find out that he had made an agreement with them that he would be there when they got there, and that he would turn himself into them.
And he did.
And they were a little upset about the whole situation because they had gave him a lot of latitude because they let him move out of the district so that he could have the job and to be with his family. And they kind of figured that, you know, he was throwing mud in their face after they tried to help him out, and then for him to have to be pursued in order to turn himself in and come face the charges that he did.
So, and what are your feelings about that? Because I have feelings about it, but I'm going to let you go.
My feelings about it is that he should have stayed true to his word. When he told them that he would be there, he should have waited for them to come. He knew what the situation was. I don't care how fast you can run, you can't outrun them. And sooner or later, they're going to catch up with you. And the longer they have to wait, the more angry they get. And so when you're still time to come in front of the judge, all that will come out. So he definitely made a mistake. But he also said to me that he has twins coming. He just got a promotion on his job. His car wasn't running. He explained to them that his car was not running, and that's how come he missed his appointment date with his parole officer. He told them as soon as he got his car up and running, he would be there. But his parole officer's supervisor stepped in the situation because he was not on board with letting him move to a different district to begin with.
Right.
So he was just looking for a hole in order to put him in. So when he missed the parole, his date to see his parole officer, they stuffed him in that hole.
Right.
And he took off, which definitely was not a good move.
Right. And we all have choices to make, right? This isn't a 15-year-old kid who doesn't know, you know what I mean? And yeah, he's already taken a hit, and I'm not trying to slam him, and it's really not for him. It's for anybody else that's listening to know that there are consequences, like that you have choices. And his choice wasn't he's got twins and all this and that coming. But like you said, he maintained his word that I'll be here because he knew that they didn't want him to leave. It wasn't a mystery. So he didn't take that into consideration. He didn't consult anybody. He didn't contact you as a mentor prior, explaining this situation, because his community, he didn't utilize his community to help him through this situation. His community could have figured out transportation for him, whether it was paying for an Uber, getting him on the train, bus, or whatever. You know what I mean? It just, bad decision making, poor decision making, or how do we get out of, or maybe he just didn't want to bother anybody. He felt like he was a burden. Like there's all these reasons. And it's like none of those reasons, especially with the people that love you, are enough for you to jeopardize. Because like everything that he said, I got twins coming, I just got promoted. So all of that should have been more important than worrying about calling you, calling his mom, calling anybody and saying, hey, I need to get here. Can we brainstorm and figure this out?
Right.
And he didn't do that. And that I'm so sad or angry or bothered that he didn't, because this could have been avoided.
And we had spoken previously because he was in my life group. I have a program for returning citizens life group. And he was in my life group. And we always stress all for one for all. You have a problem, I have a problem. We need to work it out. We need to work it out together. You don't have to be on an island by yourself.
Right. And I think
I might not have the problem. The next guy might not have a problem. But if you have a problem, it's the next guy and me to help you figure it out. And he didn't, like you said, he didn't come back to the resources.
Yeah. And how do we get people to do that? You know what I mean? I think we're so conditioned to not rely on our resources, or that we think that we've done so much that we can't go back, or you don't believe when somebody's telling them to do it. And it's like, how do we get people over that hurdle, over that hump, to actually believe? And being in that life group, you should trust that this is your life group. Like it's not like he doesn't know you. Not that he doesn't know that you're a man of your word. You know what I mean? And so I'm just really sad. I'm disappointed. I'm sad that this is such a drastic lesson to learn, at the mature age that he's at, and you're having children. So you got 2 babies on the way. You should be old enough to know that you need to be making better decisions and utilizing because if you need a babysitter, you're going to make a phone call. You know what I'm saying? So if you need a ride or you need help with something, you make a phone call. And I'm going to jump, because I know we're going to talk about Ava, because we got an update for Ava. But considering with the highlight that you just presented, let's talk about Carly Russell right now. The case of the woman that falsified her abduction in this entire scenario. And I can't find the video that I saw, but I want to talk about it. It was a video that there was a woman talking about how, because now she's claiming mental health and stress and all of these things. And she said no. you might have mental health, but you don't get to blame your mental health or weaponize your mental health for your poor decision making. You know what I mean? You knew all of these events were coming, or your boyfriend was cheating and all this and that, and you could not cope with what was happening from as a result of your life's decisions, that you created this whole other scenario. And different from your guy, her scenario puts Black women at risk. Her falsifying these allegations puts Black women at risk, puts Black men at risk, Black families at risk, people who suffer from mental health disorders genuinely, it puts them at risk, because if they have any type of police contact, it only takes one time for somebody to lie. We don't get second chances. You know what I mean? It just happens like, oh no, that's not the truth. Like, we watched the video the other day, right? When the guy was getting arrested and he's telling you, like, just this is my car. And they didn't even want to run his tags. They just wanted to arrest him. You know what I mean? It's like, it's bad enough and it's difficult enough for Black Americans that when something like this happens, it really sets us back and really puts people in danger. And it's just really sad that she didn't have the courage to address the disappointments of life. You know what I mean? We all suffer disappointments. First time somebody's going to be cheated on. It's not the first time somebody flunked out of college. It's not the first time somebody's, life is fucked up. But to do that, like, that's just a lot. And I think people need to, hey Josh, people need to be held accountable for their life's decisions and choices, good or bad, and not blame, because we talk about blaming other people. Now you're blaming mental health, and you're going to blame, all these other things. It's like, no, sis, like, you made a bad decision. You made a series of bad decisions that kind of came to a head that you couldn't cope with. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it goes back to where we were saying earlier about my guy, is it goes back to resources. What resources do you have? What resources do you think you can use? What resources do you need? And a lot of times, because of what we have going on in our head, we forget about the resources that we have.
Right.
Or it goes the other way, is, who do I trust? Do I trust you? Do I put my life in your hands? Do I trust you enough to be able to figure it out with you, or to help me figure it out? Or do I just say, hey, the hell with it, I'm going to do this my way, however it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's the doggone road a lot of people take. Instead of saying, hey, he's been with me all this time, I've trusted him, and a lot of them don't have any kind of faith in God. Right. So they figure whatever it is, it's going to be. But they have to realize, if somebody's been with you all this time and they've heard all the stories, they
know you, they know your story.
Right, exactly. You have to trust somebody to be there to help you. A lot of things you can't do by yourself. We always say, hey, I got
from
this.
The muscle.
From the muscle, right. But a lot of times that muscle gives you a cramp and you're stuck in the middle.
You can't walk, you're stuck. Man down.
And that's what happened to both of these.
Right. And that's real rap. That's real rap, what you just shared. And I think, we keep trying to normalize, asking for help, normalizing therapeutic services when life gets overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like you said, everything that you said is 100% true. And it's like you have faith in God, being courageous, having courage, and trusting the people that are in your circle, opening your eyes, like just being aware of, like you said, the people that are sharing you and showing you that they've been there for you. You know what I mean? At what point do you start doing things differently, like trusting the people that are in your circle, trusting the resources that they presented to you, and trying to do something different with your life? So I pray that your guy learns his lesson. Now, what happens for us is that now we have to kind of do some extra work around this and see if we can cut that 9 months down. You know what I mean? Let them cool down a little bit and, have the circle come back together and see what we can do to advocate for him. Babies are going to come and all these things. He's got other kids and the promotion, all those things. If it can be salvaged, and used to help them see that he's got to get back.
And the other thing is with us is if I'm in your circle from the door, but yet still you run into a problem and you do not have enough faith or trust in me to come to me for help, okay? I might not be able to help you, but I might have somebody else who can help you. But if you feel that alienated in what I can do and the trust factor that you have for me, I shouldn't even be in your circle.
Right.
I should not even be there. Okay.
Or privy to any of that information.
You need people, that's right. You need people that you can trust all the way around, not just when the sun is shining.
Right.
We need these same people when it's raining. We need somebody to bring you an umbrella. We need somebody to keep you dry. So if you can't count that this person will do that and be there for you, then maybe you're in the wrong circle.
Right. And that's a perfect segue. And I'm going to say to anybody that's listening, please like, comment, share. If you have some comments that you want to share about the conversation that we're having about mental health, about, utilizing your resources and things like that, please, say something in the comment. We can have an interactive conversation. It's all good. So that brings me as a perfect segue into, again, full transparency. We talked about my daughter, Ava, on that show, that episode as well. And so update on her is that I did exactly what you said, utilized our resources, right? I called the Prison Society and got her on their list for a visit. I contacted Criminal Justice Initiative and got her on their radar for a visit. And so a month from, she's had 3 people lay eyes on her. So my daughter had 3 visits in a month where she hasn't had any. Anytime I try to get a visit, she ends up in the hole and it gets canceled. So I haven't even been successful getting in to visit her. But the Prison Society had 2 visitors and the other visitor. The first visit, she was extremely manic. She was all over the place. She was angry. She was, And then probably a week and a half after that, she had the visit from the Criminal Justice Institute. I'll have to double check and make sure I'm saying that stuff right. But I got a completely different report. She was sharing information with me. She was asking me to, reach out to her and reach out to this person and share this information. Like, she was a completely different person. The report wasn't the same. They weren't sure, what was happening before. Like, they really almost confused and baffled that, what I had shared when they were getting ready to go is not what they experienced, which I'm happy for, because that means she has improved mentally and whatever the situation was around her. Even maybe it was just a visit that somebody actually came to see her, made a difference. And so when somebody else came, she was in much better spirits and mental state. And then the third person went on Saturday from the Prison Society. Well, the second person was from the Prison Society, got a report today that, none of the things that you had mentioned, she wasn't presenting. She was good. She was just focused on trying to get home, do her thing, get this and, putting resources in place and stuff. So it was really good. Maybe she was just in a dark place at that first visit. Having done at least 90 days, 60 days in the hole, because at that time they said they gave her a 100-day hit. And so she must have been, 60 days in and so now she'll be out of the hole supposedly on Tuesday. Happy birthday to me. But yeah, I was in tears, when I was sharing about what had transpired with her. And, just that inquiry got such a different result over that period of 30 days, from a very manic and angry person, probably very desperate and, just in a dark place, to have, a little bit of light come in and reach out to her and care about her and let them know that we care about her and that we're looking for her. and you know what I mean, that we hadn't forgotten about her, and that, you know what I mean, we are still here holding it down. And she responded in a positive way. And it's just like, you know what I mean? I'm happy at that. Like, I mean, I'm about to have tears of joy about that because, you know what I mean? Can you imagine how dark of a place you've had to been, you know what I mean? That a visit from a stranger, you know, wanting to hear how you are doing, brought you out into the light. And so, thank you for that. I think the prison society, I'm not going to be all ignorant and go through my phone and try, but I do want to call the proper name of the other organization that went and visited her, because it was very spare of the moment, and I'm truly grateful. So I definitely want to give them a shout out.
Even
Oh,
with
Criminal Justice Coalition. I was close. Criminal Justice Coalition. They're out of Philadelphia, and they do, they do well checks as well. So we have resources. We have to use them. Whether they think they're going to work, like you said, you don't know if I can help you, but somebody else can help you. And I didn't know that resource. I talked to somebody else and didn't want to talk. To be honest, I didn't want to share what was going on with her with somebody else, because you don't know. You don't need to hear all this. Like, this is just, it's too much. And they were like, no, I got a resource. And that resource came through. And so to your point exactly is that it does work. But you do have to use your discernment. You have to have the certain type of people in your camp, but you can't be with just anybody. But you know what I mean? It absolutely does work. And we have to be more courageous in utilizing our resources and the network that we have around us. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say that being in the criminal justice hole, as we call it, jail, okay, when they put you in solitary confinement and you also have some kind of mental disorders, it's a double whammy, because that isolation and the way sometimes you're in there, you don't have clothes, you don't have a mattress, okay? Right. These things, they talk to you any kind of way. Like I said, you're already in a bad situation to begin with. And then they don't let you get your mail, you don't get phone calls, right. You need some support. You have none when you're locked up in that hole. So that messes with your head. So I can kind of understand that when she first got out of that environment and got a chance to breathe and see, right. Sure, she's trying to let everything that she's been digesting for the last 60 days, she's trying to get that out of her system, because she knows she has to go back. And how much of that can I fill up with? Right. So she's trying to leave what she can leave on the outside while she's outside, so that when she goes back, she'll have more space to deal with this on another level. Because when you're in there, it's you. It's not like I got you to talk to, I got him to talk to, so on and so forth. You're talking to yourself. Right. Now, if you are a religious person, then you talk to God. But other than that, that messes with your mind. And so, like I said earlier, that's a double whammy. So I can understand how she felt when she first got out of that hole. Right. I did the hole, so I know what that's about. And for her to be able to get that out, that was even a relief. So the next time they seen her, she had got a lot of that out. She was much better. And that's the way that works. Yeah. And thankfully, they have her on their list to do regular checks. So at least maybe once a month that she will get a well check. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, you know what I mean? I have to make it my mission now. Right. I have to make it my mission now to press upon her attorney that, you know what I mean? She's ready to, take whatever they're offering. Let's get it, which would be time served at this point, because she's already maxed out whatever the offer was. Like, you need to get her. Like, bring her home. We'll figure it out. You need to do your part, and we'll take care of the rest. And that puts, and also too, it puts the facility on notice that this is not a forgotten soul.
You know what I mean? There is people that are looking for her, that love her. There's a community out here waiting for her. So if something happens to her, we coming. So, you know what I mean? I think just making sure that we are looking after our people is so critical. And like you said, you know what I mean? You really brought it to light that being in the hole and being in isolation. I mean, because we've gotten calls that people have been in solitary for years, not days, not, but years. And imagine what that does. You just explained how it can affect their psyche. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So we are moving along. And so we have a new addition to our team, our resource center. What you call it? I don't know if you're on a team yet. We have to.
I'm still not intrigued with the situation, but go ahead. You got it.
So I don't know if everybody has been aware. Well, yeah, because we kind of highlighted it, not necessarily on this show though, but I think in the beginning we did that. The former chief public defenders from Montgomery County were Dean Beer and Keisha Hudson Brooks. And for the last 3 years, they've been utilizing interim directors, Carol Sweeney and Greg Nestor. And they were trial attorneys. They were not folks that, were doing like chief stuff like, community engagement and policy and all that. They were trial attorneys. And so we're thankful that they stepped up and they held it down and, got them through to the point where, okay, now they're ready to hire someone and they have. And we have a new chief public defender and her name is Christine P. Laura. And she is actually a Montgomery County native. I think she was with the Philly Defenders Association, but she's coming back home to Montgomery County. We ran into her, last Friday? Was it last Friday?
Yes. Yeah.
No, the Friday before last.
Yeah.
Friday before last, when we went to the screening of No Way Home, which is a documentary about a gentleman, not just one gentleman, but the 5,400 plus people that are serving LWOP, life without the opportunity for parole. That means they will die in prison. I think we had the commercial on the show with MJ, but at that screening. So she came and I guess that was her first kind of introduction into the community and doing this, the work and, on the directly impacted people side, not necessarily other colleagues and lawyers and things like that. So we had a brief introduction with her there. She's very familiar with participatory defense, very much excited about getting here and working with us and doing the work. It'll be interesting to see how that translates to her staff. Because she has probably 90% new staff than what we worked with in the past, under Dean and Keisha and even under Carol and Greg. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes and if it increases the, I don't want to say productivity, but the relationship between.
No, you're right. No, it is productivity. That's right. Because they have to come out. We have the product. They have to take care of it. And that's what we need them to do is that when people who can't afford an attorney come to you, give them your full attention. Don't wait.
And the full resource. You know what I mean? If you're only going to the little book that they gave you and, participatory defense and all of these other things are a resource that is rooted in the community that helps you understand who your client is. And if you don't want to know who your client is better so that you can better serve them and get a better outcome for them, then you should not be in the public defender's office. And it doesn't matter who you are. If that's not your goal, then you might want to go to the dark side. I'm not sure. But anyway, we welcome her, right? And we hope to be able to get her on the show by the end of this year. But we are quickly coming up on our 1 year anniversary in November. So that's going to be something special. So she may not make the show prior to the end of this year. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll have her for Christmas. But so what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about meeting her?
My thoughts are
Your
that,
favorite word, the scuttlebutt.
yeah, I just feel as though she needs to deal with us a little more than they did previously when
Right.
there was no interim director, like we did with Dean Beer and Keisha. There are certain, let's say, guidelines that I know they have to deal with and they
Right.
can't cross. And we have a lot of stuff in our group that we like to keep in our group. We don't want outside our group. So
Right.
I think we have to try and come to a happy medium where we can give but not expose, and get and not put people out there.
Right.
But
Yeah, we definitely.
they need to know that people who are locked up getting ready for court need to see them. Don't come seeing me when I'm down in the bullpen getting ready to go upstairs in front of a judge and
Right.
you're calling me John and my name is Jack. And you're saying about, well, where did you steal something? You said, I'm not here for stealing here. I'm here because of somebody put in a complaint against me.
Right.
We need them to be able to understand your case, because if you don't understand my case, how do you give me a good outcome?
Right.
So we need her to talk to her people, put them on board with us to the point whereas they can at least ask us questions. They can at least come to us and say, hey, this guy said he came to your participatory defense and so on and so forth, and we can put him down with what exactly happened and what his client is saying he felt, so that will help him get a more positive outcome on their case. And that's what we're fighting for. That's why we're in here.
Absolutely. And it's also too to encourage and empower their client to speak up. You know what I mean? Because not only do we kind of have them dump their emotional trauma and anxiety onto us, like get it out here so that when you talk to your attorney, you're talking facts and specifics, you're asking pertinent questions. You're not saying, oh, they railroad me, they don't like black people, da, da, da. You're acting crazy, right? I mean, warranted, but that's not helpful. You know what I mean? It's not helpful to your case. It's not helpful for them to understand who you are and where that's coming from. So we kind of take all of that on so that when they do get to talk to their attorney, they're asking very specific and poignant questions. And they have to have the capacity to do that. You know what I mean? The defense attorney has to have the capacity to say, oh, you're asking me what a Rule 600 is and when we can do that? They got to be able to tell them respectfully and whatever. But it's not like, oh, well, we ain't going to do that. No, like you need to explain to me because I'm asking you questions because I want to know. I want to participate in my defense. It's really that.
See, what happens with that is a lot of these attorneys, they steambowl you. They take your cash.
Right.
They steambowl you to take the first deal that they give you. They don't even try and fight for a deal.
Right, because they know you're scared. They know you want it to be over. That you want just to be done with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's not. It's not that. Like, no, we're gonna take our time and we're gonna get this right. We're gonna wait for the smoke to clear. Right. And we're gonna make a educated decision.
And they know when they come to us that, hey, they work for you. And the final decision on anything that you talk about is up to you. Right. And with a lawyer that you're dealing with, there's also, we were talking about earlier, about a trust factor, okay? You have to kind of like feed into your lawyer to trust what he's saying and what he's doing, okay, for your defense. But if he comes in there the day a doggone trial and so on, so how do you trust him? What kind of relationship do you have to know that this guy is going upstairs and he's going to fight for your best outcome?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, well, that's why we here. That's why we keep doing this show. That's why we keep going to court and talking to people and all that. Eventually it'll stick. You know what I mean? Because I mean, this is decades and centuries of indoctrinated, thought processes. It's in the people's DNA and all that kind of stuff. It's by design. So we are, unraveling this thing one thread at a time. And so I just had an interesting week. So we were just talking, and then we'll get into the really positive stuff that we have to share with you all. But one more thing that I just noticed. So it's summertime. We all know it's summertime. And the bail requests have kind of slowed down. Like I was getting like 2 or 3 a week. You know what I mean? Not that it was not everybody that, qualified or was in our scope, but, we were getting phones was ringing off the hook. And so now, like, it's been kind of lagging, and I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. You know what I mean? It's whatever. But also, all of a sudden, I've noticed an uptick of FTAs, which are failure to appears. And we all joke and say, oh, it's summertime. People don't want to go to jail in the summer. And it's like, but again, like you talked about, your guy, and it's not like you can't run from it. It's okay. So when you see a case that's inactive, I'm like, well, these cases inactive. Oh, they got an FTA because they're in the wind. They haven't, their cases hasn't been heard from like January and March or whatever. And people miss their court dates, and there's a bench warrant out for them. So if you get pulled over, they happen to recognize you. Yeah, you're going to go to jail. They're going to pick you up. But I just noticed the correlation between the decline in bail requests to the uptick in getting notification that people are missing their court dates. So just an interesting fact, nothing that, it's unfortunate, and it'll come around full circle, whether or not the courts will reinstate bail and send it back to us once they get, their pound of flesh from their defendant. But that remains to be seen. We'll see. I know from others we have gotten bail back from some FTAs, but I don't know how long it'll go before it, doesn't return to us.
And that's the thing about us helping people. People have to understand that when we help you, we need you to handle your responsibility so that we can help someone else. Because
Exactly.
if we don't handle your responsibility, that's one person that we can't help on the next go round. So
You know what else that I started doing now when I'm getting phone calls and I'm talking to people on the phone, I tell them to follow our social media. So that's another thing that I've been saying is like, okay, well, and so if they're, we're able to free their loved one and like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yeah, you're welcome. But follow our social media for the reasons that you said. I don't need to repeat it, but that's exactly why. So we can help other people. Like and follow, share, subscribe to the channel so that we can get this message out to more and more people. And then more people can support us. And we need more people that want to support us than need us. You know what I mean? Right now, everybody needs us, and the support, we're getting there, but we don't have the support to be able to help all the people that need us. And so we need the people that can support us to support us. And so that's what we keep saying: share, like, follow, all that stuff. Comment, get on, go back and watch, past episodes. We've got clips and reels and shorts and all that kind of stuff that, it's just really informational pieces. If you're thinking about something, all of our contact information is on there. So it's like you can call us, you can reach out, whatever you've got a question about anything, not even just the criminal legal system, but we talk about the juvenile system. I'm not going to get into it today, but we talked about the youth justice and the dependency court and how families are dealing with ungovernable youth. That will be for another show. But yeah, so we just need to start banding together and really supporting this work. And so with the support of this work, we have allies. And so our allies look like all different kinds of folks. Like the public defender's office is an ally of ours, but also we have allies that was in the DA's office. We do have some DAs that are actually share the same sentiment and methodology that we do, and want to divert people from incarceration and into treatment, and recognize that there are mental health disorders and substance abuse disorders that are causing people to have contact with the criminal legal system. And so we are truly appreciative of those allies that understand that. And so we just recently, with this recent election or primary back in May, we have 2 of our very dear allies that have elevated themselves into the role of judge. We have Todd Barnes, who has been won his primary in May and was recently appointed into his position early by the governor last Wednesday. And so that's him and his wife, and that's me and some other community supporters, Sonia and Mila. There, we went to his swearing in, and it was standing room only. He was in tears, his wife was in tears, and that's a whole story about that journey. Maybe we'll get him on now that he's a judge and not in the DA's office. He won't get fired for coming on the show. But even when he worked in the DA's office, so that's a thing that, you know what I mean, other conversations and some of the negative people that came against his campaign was, why do you want a DA as your judge? And we're like, first of all, he works in the DA's office. He's not a prosecuting DA. You know what I mean? He actually worked in the appeals department, which either made sure that the case was airtight or identified issues that allowed this case to go back and get retried again. So he was definitely an ally in that regard. He was an ally to me. We met regularly, talked about our community, talked about Norristown, talked about how we can make change, just from being on both sides of this situation. I'm gonna call it, every time he and I met, and that's at least for the last 4 or 5 years, probably a little longer than that, I said, set me up a meeting with your boss. Set me up a meeting with the second in charge. So his boss was Kevin Steele. Ed, don't give me the line, I want to say McMahon. No, it's Ed somebody, is the second in charge at the DA's office. So you have the District Attorney Kevin Steele and his deputy, which I can't think of his name at the top of my head, but not once did neither of them answer my call to have a meeting to discuss what we do, who we are. They just ignored it. And so I'm thankful that Todd continued to pursue becoming a judge, because that is such an asset and an ally for our community. And the second ally that we want to lift up is Natasha Taylor Smith. And so she was part of the solicitor's office that was for the municipality of Norristown. And she just kind of, again, pursued her career and her pathway to becoming a judge. So now she is going to, and she was sworn in a couple weeks ago, maybe about a month or so ago now, into the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia. And so we're so proud of her and him that they understand the work that we do. They value the work that we do. They've referred people to us. They've worked with us. They've done everything that they could to be an ally. And when I say that, being an ally, I don't mean an ally doesn't mean that, because they're in this position of power and decision making, that they get to skirt the law or do us favors because, we're bros and we're sisters. Nah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about ally in the fact that they're going to respect and honor the letter of the law and use their discretion based on the facts of the case, not who's presenting it. So they're not going to do the police department favors because they want this person to have $1 million bail for whatever reason, and going to press upon the judge to do so. These two individuals have the integrity. They've taken that oath seriously, and I wholeheartedly believe that they will not be influenced or pressured by the presenting opposite, the DA's office, the police departments, and other powers that be that think that they have influence over our judges to get what they want. You know what I mean? To throw out fees and to do, excessive bail amounts and stacking charges and letting shit fly that they don't have evidence for, that they can't prove. That's why these roles at this basic level, like Todd is at the district level. Natasha's a little higher up, but at the district level, like, it's Todd's job to throw charges out if there's no evidence to prove it. Where other judges just be like, all right, I'm gonna just let all this shit fly and kick it up to the higher court, right? And then you have to fight, and that gives more tools to the DA to hold over you. So when they say, oh, well, we're gonna make all these 99 charges go away if you agree and plead guilty to these 3. And it's like, but them 99 didn't matter anyway. You couldn't prove them anyway. They're just here, but they threaten you with that. And so that's why it's so important that our district judge is an ally, because they're not going to let that shit fly. And so Denise Ash is one. We're hearing good things about her. I've sat in her courtroom and sadly, you know what I mean, if that's a word, sadly, watched a 10-year-old and 11-year-old sit in front of a courtroom and having to, you know what I mean, have that whole thing and having to come back and having the parent have to pay a $300 fine because these kids is fighting so terribly in school. So she is committed to going to that school and making sure she has an impact. And so I'm grateful for her. But these are two allies, and I'm grateful for them. And so what are your thoughts? Because I know I'm just rambling because I'm excited. I do that sometimes.
Boy, yeah. What you say about an ally?
Yes.
Yeah, no, but on the other side of all that is that we'll get an equal chance. And that's all we ever ask for. Give us an equal chance. Okay? You know, any crime we do and someone white does the same crime, we're 5.5 times more passive about going to jail than they will. Okay, so we want you to level the playing field. We're not asking for the favors or partiality. All we're asking for is give me the same truth. Give me the same penalty that they would get. Don't stack me with a whole lot of paperwork and then tell me, hey, go blow in the wind because this is who you are and this is who I am. And I think that once people see that we're not asking for anything that we don't deserve, I think things will get better. And with those two people in place, and people start being aware of what they do and how they do, like you said, because they're both going to do their job with integrity, I think things will open up a little more for us, especially here in Montgomery County. Philadelphia is the bigger space, bigger people, but here in Montgomery County with him and Denise Ash, I think things will open up. We have a couple other people that we see that are running, and who knows, you know, we might have a triples double. So we'll see what happens.
Right. And to keep them in prayer, right? Because they're going against the grain.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're going against the machine just to do their job right with integrity. Like the machine is to be like, do what we are asking you to do. We want you to do this and we want you to do that. We want you to keep the jail filled, right? About 800 people in the jail. So that means that they have to send people to jail that maybe they wouldn't have. And so, you know what I mean? That's one of the things too, is if you're a praying person, keep them in prayer, that, you know what I mean, that they are protected and have the stamina and the courage to continue to do their job with the integrity. And so before we wrap up, I'm going to do the stuff like, you know, like, share, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We're on Instagram, all of our social media, Facebook, all those things, but also too our past episodes. So check out the episode 9 with Maria Gellner, who is working with FAM, and they are looking at second chance legislation to put an end to, not to put an end to, but at least get those 5,400 plus men and women that are serving LWOP to have a second look at their case, especially since they've done decades. And this is a thing I'm gonna get on a t-shirt and I'm gonna put it out there, even though I shouldn't. But when we were at that screening, the young lady said they're doing letters, not numbers. And that shit's crazy. That's my what the fuck moment. I'm sorry, I just stole it. That's my what the fuck moment. When she said that they're doing letters, not numbers, I had to think about that. LWOP ain't a number. 30 years, 40 years, there's a possibility. LWOP, they're doing letters, not numbers. That shit fucked me up when she said that. It really did. So what's your what the fuck moment, sir?
My what the fuck moment is,
and we got time for 2. You said you had 2, so give them to them both.
When are we going to learn that it's safety in numbers? When are we going to learn that we can get more done together and stop pitting each other, against each other. You have an affair, I have an affair. Why come to my affair? Don't come there. And put our resources together to build something big here in town and stop fighting one another. And when something goes wrong, why do we always blame the damn system instead of taking the responsibilities on ourselves? And we had a little incident about some young ladies who were trying to have a party in the park, who usually do it. They skirted all around the perimeters. For the truth of the fact, last year there were problems. Now this year they come back, and they come back with the same metaphor, and it didn't work. So now it's the borough, it's the county, it's everybody is against us. They don't want us black folks to do nothing.
Right.
But if us as black folks do it right and stop thinking because we have that card that we can pull that things will work against us, do the right thing.
Right.
What the fuck do you expect to happen if you keep knocking your head up against the wall thinking that you're going to get through?
Right.
That's my what the fuck moment.
Right. And when you say affair, because at first I was like, oh no, we're not having affairs, events. He means events, y'all. He means events.
Right. Yeah. Well, it wasn't fair.
That term can be misleading.
Thank you, ally.
We didn't have an affair. We had an event. We didn't have an entanglement. We had an event. Right. But yes, you are absolutely right. But that seems to be the theme throughout this entire conversation. Starting with your guy and believe me, look, I've skirted stuff and thought I was going to sneak through. Don't even think because I did my due diligence with my daughter that what you're describing hasn't happened to me either, where I tried to take shortcuts and thinking that I'm going to slip through, and no, it don't work. Sometimes you're lucky and it do, but don't make that your practice. Read your contracts, understand your contracts. If you don't, ask somebody, you know what I mean? Because what you're trying to do is a good thing. And again, like that young lady that lied and because you couldn't keep up with what was going on in your life, you lied. And the same thing here, you couldn't keep pace with how big this event is getting, and it was good. But to, keep more money in your pocket, not have to do the security and other things, whatever the reasons were, now it's a stain. Now it looks like a negative thing because they're not taking responsibility, and it's a back and forth thing. And we really don't want to do that. It just looks bad for everybody involved, and we don't win. And my shirt says, if we fight, we win. # Fox and Rob, one of my favorite couples. But yeah, when we fight, we win, but we have to fight the right fight. And that's the other thing, because we've gotten burned several times, and I'm going to let y'all go in a minute. We've gotten burned several times because we jumped the gun, right? And we're just out there because we're enraged at what we were told. You know what I mean? But when we get the full story, it's like, oh, shoot. Well, I ain't know. Oh, now everybody's embarrassed because Carly Russell done lied. All the people that jumped out of the jet for and, advocating and get down, We finally got missing black women on the news, and here she wasn't even missing. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, they found this chick. And everybody was like, yo, they found her in 2 days. No, have a walk back to home.
Right.
So, do better, people. We love you. We want to see you all win. We're here to help you win. And you know what I mean? To do that, we got to be together. We got to be transparent. We got to own our shit. And you know what I mean? We live to fight another day, and we lock arms, and sometimes you're tired and I'll step up. And if you're tired, and somebody else will step up. And so let's get it. Let's do better. And we'll see you next time. Any parting words, Mr. Scott?
Yes. That incident will harm the next person. And that's the thing. We do more harm than good when we put ourselves out like that. The next person that comes up might not get the same resources that she got, and they really need them. And that's a person that really needs it. Right. So that's my thing. And my other thing is, okay, it might not be you today, but it might be your family member tomorrow. So please please continue to check into the show and support us, because we're here to support you. God bless.
Thank you. Check on your people. Love you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Purely Speculation. If you learned something, share something. Please like, follow, and share this show. The more our communities know, the more they are empowered, and the faster we can create change. Purely Speculation would not be made possible without the generous support of the Community Justice Exchange, the Health Sparks Frank E. Boston Black Justice Fund, Philadelphia Foundation, and Reform Alliance. Thank you. Booyah!
Intuition different, already lived and dreamt it. Visions make my vision clear as I'm jogging through this fog of life. I be fog lights with the fog set, body and I'm all set. Baby, can you be my Cardi B on an offset? Toast we got it.